Hello, and welcome to episode number 57 of The Great Reset. My name is Robert Brill, and I'm the CEO of BrillMedia.co. We're an advertising firm that helps companies achieve business results with the best paid media, data, and targeting available in the market. Welcome to another episode of The Great Reset, and today we're taking another look at advertising technology, AdTech, and we're going into how we drive those results for clients. In the last episode, we talked a little bit about the history of demand-side platforms and how they create so much opportunity for marketers when compared to the old way of running advertising campaigns. In this episode, we're talking about the 5 key value propositions, and in fact, there are 8 value propositions for demand-side platforms and the way they provide value for media buyers and advertisers and agencies. So here's a list briefly: efficient workflow, opportunities for low-cost media, scale, a whole world of media inventory and data, democratization of media, fast feedback for reporting, business gets smarter and faster, an operating system for advertising. Let's jump right into it. The first one is a more efficient workflow for ad buyers. Instead of wrangling 20 different salespeople and the accompanying Excel documents, PDFs, contracts, and price negotiations, the workflow is just simpler. Hit a few buttons and media gets turned on. Think about the perspective of an ad network. There are companies who were built in the 2010s whose core value was to connect ad buyers with lots of great ad inventory. That was good, but the amount of manpower needed to make those businesses work was staggering. There were teams of people who needed to reach out and manage individual websites. Code needed to be tracked and placed on individual websites. And that code enabled the opportunity for advertisers to serve ads across many different sites. The code wasn't easy for some people to implement, especially for small website developers. So you had to help developers place the code that enabled ad insertion. Each month, those website owners needed to get paid, so there's a whole lot of variety of invoices and billing decisions and accounting that need to happen. It's a back office nightmare. Media buyers at agencies face the same consequences. 20 different media properties on a media plan meant 20 different invoices, reconciliations, and accounting. The work of just managing an advertising campaign was so bad. There was so much of it. And none of what I described was for the direct goal of optimizing campaigns and driving better performance for the campaign. On this front, the DSP and the larger programmatic ecosystem simplified all that. Companies could simply plug into existing infrastructure without needing to recreate it. So there were efficiencies. Number 2, opportunities for low-cost media. One of the core elements of buying advertising through a demand-side platform was that advertising was bought and sold on auctions, which means that ad cost would be determined based on basic supply and demand economics. For the buyer, who would possibly have paid a $5 CPM or cost per 1,000 impressions when buying directly from the ad seller, buying the same ad impression on a DSP would be lower. And it might, for example, be $3.50 for CPM, which meant there was a money-saving opportunity for the ad buyer. This created opportunities for ad inventory sellers to sell more of their ad space, which was good, but at a lower overall cost. You might imagine the incredible amounts of pushback that came from sellers who felt DSPs were eating their business. And as a result, many sellers didn't pay attention to the programmatic ecosystem, either out of spite or because they were told not to, and some of them got left behind. And certainly publishers eventually made the push to providing the vast majority of their inventory in the programmatic ecosystem available to demand-side platforms. That pushback was a big part of the friction in this ecosystem at the beginning of it. Number 3, we'll talk about scale. In 2020, the overall programmatic advertising landscape is expected to be $68 billion in the US, though maybe a COVID-19 recession will lower that to $60 billion. This total programmatic ad spending is 85% of all display advertising, comprising of media that is not search, email marketing, SMS, or affiliate marketing. So that's a ton of money, and that's data from eMarketer coming from October of 2019. That means that through DSPs, the advertiser has access to about 85% of all available display advertising inventory, depending on the DSP that you choose or the combination of DSPs that you choose and the needs that you have for your campaign. So media that is bought on the open exchange, again, according to eMarketer, will account for about $11 billion, while direct buys still run through the programmatic ecosystem will be $44 billion. So rather than going to 20 different websites or app owners to buy advertising space, I have my hands on tools that can lead me across publications, across consumers, and across targeting filters that reach just the right audience with precision, and there's a whole lot of scale. Number 4, there's a whole world of media inventory and data. This is huge. When we talk about scale, it's not only volume, although that's very important, it's about precision. In 2020, just one of these platforms has over 160 different data providers, over 50 different sources of advertising inventory, and an estimated 500,000 different pre-existing consumer segments. And when we say 50 different sources of ad inventory, we mean aggregators of ad inventory. So for example, Google is one aggregator of ad inventory, which allows us to buy on ad sites, but there are a lot more, such as Magnite, which is formerly Rubicon, PubMatic, and certainly many others that just aren't available through self-service ad buying platforms outside of this ecosystem. So we're talking about precision consumer segments, and from there, the targeting just expands with tools that plug into DSPs. So for example, Foursquare, the company that started in the 2010s in the Great Recession, they just bought a company called Factual. And Factual has a really great tool that allows us to pinpoint users who are or have been at specific locations. So for example, let's say you are the brand manager of Ghirardelli's caramel products, and you've identified that your next marketing campaign will be to people who use caramel in apple pie. Let's say that's who you want to target. The targeting is so precision that your ads can appear only on websites that are all about recipes, such as allrecipes.com, foodnetwork.com, niche sites like ofbatteranddough.com, and blogs like carlsbadcravings.com. So you think recipes, that's good, that's targeted, that's granular, but you can actually go a lot more granular than that. You may only want your ads to appear on the exact pages that mention apple pie, like apple pie recipes that use caramel. With contextual targeting, for example, the ads can be filtered either to the individual URLs with the recipe for apple pie containing caramel, or keyword contextual targeting can be deployed so that any page that has the words apple pie and also contains caramel and is about baking of apple pies is eligible to run your ad. You can't get more granular than that. If you want to sell caramel to people who make apple pies, you want to be on a page that is talking about apple pie recipes. So number 5, the democratization of media. When I look at Ghirardelli's competitors, 2 came up. Morley Brands, and they produce Sanders Candy Caramel, and even smaller brand called JQD Salt, which makes what appears to be some incredibly great tasting burnt caramel with finishing salt. So I'm on a keto diet right now, and that sounds incredible. This sounds so good, and so both brands can go up against Ghirardelli and run ads on the exact same pages on All Recipes, Food Network, and those smaller sites, just targeting those apple pie recipes that contain caramel. With a few clicks, these smaller and small brands can directly compete with the largest brand in the category that dominates the confection space. This is how advertising has become democratized with demand-side platforms. So number 6, fast feedback for reporting. Once campaigns are live with the performance indicators are quickly available. Within hours, we see impression delivery, clicks, conversions, sales, leads, and a variety of data to look at. So for example, we see where the ads run, where they have the most clicks, where the ads turned into a sale, the revenue amount tied to sale, and so much more. We'll see performance by device. So we're providing, the question is like, if we're not seeing a good conversion rate on mobile, then it might lead to the question like, are we not providing a good mobile experience, for example? Or are people even buying on mobile? Or is it better because of the type of product we're selling to run ads more on desktop, right? While we typically don't make optimization decisions within a few hours of campaign launch, this demonstrates how quickly we get a pulse on the campaign. And after a few days and weeks, we have enough data to make precision decisions about placements, platforms, channels, and creative executions that are driving the success of these campaigns, depending on the goals of the campaign. The advertiser is informed about what works and what doesn't, and in turn becomes smarter about their own business, while the optimization team drives results with data from the DSP. Number 7, businesses get smarter and faster. In aggregate, campaign data is a big deal for advertisers because DSPs are the conduit to real-time feedback from customers. While focus groups are still important and very necessary for brands, they can only go so far. Advertising messages that are, quote, in the wild, tell a robust story about the journey the consumer takes from seeing an ad to buying something. They tell the story about the messages they like the best, the promotions that are most resonant, and the imagery that is most compelling. The paid media campaigns powered through the demand-side platform informs the advertiser about the ground-level elements that get the consumer to take the desired action. Such learnings inform future promotions, future product offerings, and even a way for the brand to innovate on completely new designs. And finally, number 8, the operating system for advertising. As a whole, the DSP is the operating system for paid media. It is the conduit to consumers, data, ad inventory, support tools, campaign reporting, and insights. Great deployment of a DSP for an advertiser means an overall more effective way to reach consumers with substantially more focus on campaign optimization and data-driven analysis. And it means much less focus on the non-value driving components of ad buying. Just think about the amount of work it would take to buy ads on 20 sites in 2004 to 2008 to 2010, much less 100 sites or even 1,000 very niche blog sites where your customers might be right now. The amount of sales, negotiations, back office work like accounting and invoicing saps away the most valuable work time that a brand should be getting, which is on the ground optimizations that make campaigns better, smarter, and more productive. In the 10 plus years that DSPs have existed, the output for advertising has exponentially increased while the personal workload on the individual has decreased relative to what they're ultimately creating, producing, manufacturing with their time. Gone are the days of site-by-site media planning as a necessity. Certainly brands can still work this way, and there are some definite use cases where this makes sense, but to scale a brand, whether it's a mom and pop brand or a Fortune 500 advertiser, these brands have adopted advertising in mass on DSPs, which is the operating system for advertising. That's it for today. For this episode of The Great Reset, we'll see you next time.